Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today's video is titled, Nephew, male 38, confronted his wife, female 36, who's been cheating on him with his father. Please like, subscribe, and turn on that bell so you never miss a video. Let's get right into it. As per my previous posts, my twin sister, female 60, discovered in late May that her husband of 40 years has not only been cheating on her, but it's with none other than their eldest son's wife. There are no words in the English language that could possibly come close to describing the anguish of this situation. My nephew had been stationed in Germany since January and initially wasn't due home until the end of the year. That was until his younger brother and sister had literally flown to Europe to break the devastating news to him in person. He soon filed a request for emergency leave and it was granted last week. Upon arriving on Thursday midday after an 11-hour flight and little to no sleep for quite a few days since having learned about the depravity of his father's actions, he insisted on going to the hospital to confront the man he has idolized all his life and reassured his sister, who'd pick him up from the base, that he would show restraint. That soon turned out to be anything but, and who could blame him? My niece had accompanied him inside, and after coming to the realization that their father was busy in the OR and wouldn't be done until a few hours later, my nephew went ballistic and had a hard time taking no for an answer. When the receptionist asked if she could take a message in an attempt to calm him down, he retorted with more expletives aimed at his father and said, "Ask him who he's effing. You all love him, but I am here to tell you he's a sick son of a b. Tell him I said to go F himself." My niece was besides herself and began crying because all eyes were on them, and many people know who they are. As he got louder, security was called and they were asked to leave immediately. My niece later recounted the story to me and regretted giving into her brother's demands because it was a terrible idea that should have never happened. Suffice to say, just about everyone who was at the hospital that day knows that the good doctor is having an affair. It's only a matter of time before the gossip circles inside and outside its walls finally figure out who the other woman is. My nephew then went home to his mom, and my sister was inconsolable from the moment her son stepped into her house. She initially didn't want to show him all the texts between his father and wife, but he demanded to read them, leaving her no choice. My brother-in-law soon learned about all the commotion that happened earlier that day at the hospital and took the extraordinary step of calling, but no one answered. In fact, none of his children are actually speaking to him since they found out. It's a given that his mistress soon found out too. My nephew wanted to see his kids, so he got his mother to drive him to the house that she shares with his wife and kids. It turns out that my nephew has been having doubts about whether or not his daughter, the younger of the two children, is actually his. That evening, the argument with his wife dissolved into a screaming match that later resulted in a neighbor calling the cops. We've since learned that my nephew asked his wife over and over who is the biological father of their daughter, and she finally admitted that she doesn't know. His wife admitted to being in love and sleeping with his father since late 2016, a few months after giving birth to their son. The daughter was born in December 2017. My nephew hasn't confronted his father face-to-face as yet, but received a letter over the weekend addressed to all three children, which they refused to read. My sister did open it, and her husband wrote, among other things, that he's deeply sorry for the insurmountable pain and misery. He's far from perfect, understands if his children don't ever want to speak to him or see him ever again, and realizes that nothing he says or does will ever change the situation he has caused, but they should never forget that he'll never stop loving them until the day he dies. The sheer audacity of a man who has hidden behind his looks, money, and success for decades, only to be reduced to a pitiful excuse for a human being. My nephew is going to be home for 3 weeks before he goes back, and has since retained the services of a lawyer in order to obtain a court order to establish paternity. It's devastating to watch the people I love so much be consumed by sadness and heartbreak of unprecedented proportions. If it wasn't bad enough already, my nephew has been hitting the bottle every day since his return last week. The first comment says, How can you do that to your own son? This is one of the most disgusting things that a father can do to his son. And for someone who you look up to, your nephew needs to start the divorce process now. He can't be with someone that cheats on them with their own father-in-law. You need to check your nephew into rehab because he could become an alcoholic and potentially lose his job. He can't do that for the sake of his kids. He has to be strong for his kids. I know that it is hard right now, but the nephew has to be strong if he is going to get custody of his children. For the brother-in-law, you have a wife and someone that loves you. You married her for over 40 years. Why would you do that, you idiot? You need to break up with your family and leave them all of them. You deserve to rot in hell for what you did. You know what you did, and for you to say that you are far from perfect, get that BS out of here. There are people in worse situations that get better by their own sheer will, not by submitting to their urges. You are a disgusting father, and why would you do that to your own son? He loves you. He looked up to you, and now he is an alcoholic, and he could potentially lose his job, marriage, and potentially his kids. Do you realize what kind of S he might be going through right now? Get out and don't look back, because you don't deserve a family that loved you and cared and respected you. And the second comment says, unfortunately, I relate to this far too much for my own liking. I spent my childhood watching this near exact scenario and lived through it. It is unbelievably devastating to watch and go through a family fall to its knees because of the pure selfishness of two people. My stepdad was in the army and, as most know, spent a lot of time away from the family home. My quote-unquote mother and stepdad's father had an affair from me being 3 years old till I was 10. She also had my youngest brother during that time period, and without a doubt, he is the son of her father-in-law. I'm 38 now, and I still cannot put into words the impact this has had throughout our lives. Please be there to support each other and take one day at a time to process this devastation that you are all going through. My deepest thoughts are with you all. And the third comment says, I have no words to confront you and your family in this abhorrent situation. Your sister and nephew need professional help, surely. I hope when they file for divorce, they sue those two animals penniless and get a bountiful sum in monetary compensation. No amount of money will ever patch these wounds, but those two beasts deserve to be left with as little as possible. Sadly, the children should definitely undergo paternity testing, and I have serious doubts of that disgusting woman's capacity to even properly take care of her children, given how monstrous and beastly she has proven herself to be. How can someone without any morals raise functional human beings? Is she planning on raising her kids with their grandfather/father? Those poor innocent souls deserve better, and the rest of the family need to cut both adulterers off and pretend they're dead. Hey everyone, I'm back today with another video, and this one is titled, I, 26 male, can't find inner peace after unexpected communication from an ex, 26 female. Please like and subscribe, and also hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Let's get right into it. Excuse any format issues, mobile user here. Here's some context to our past, as well as my current situation. To start this off, I haven't spoken to my ex in years, like enough time to have moved on with life and found my fiancé, 25 female. I haven't been in many relationships, but this ex in particular was my first in many aspects, so I had quite the soft spot for her. We were together for a few years and maintained a somewhat decent friendship even after splitting up, with short stints of both of us believing we had a chance together after growing individually. Ultimately, the friendship just faded after some distancing on my behalf, which came upon realizing I needed to improve myself and leave the past behind me. Fast forward to current times, 2020. It's been roughly 6 years, 2013 to 2014-ish, since I spoke to my ex. In the first 4 years, I pursued no romantic relations and focused on juggling my health, work, and studies. In the final year of my studies, I met my current fiancé, but we remained friends with no intent of romance until 2018, We've been together for 2 years now, and me being in a relationship is known by everyone, as it's easily visible on social media. Now, here's where I've lost my peace. Last week, Thursday the 9th, I randomly got a message from my ex while with my best friend. All it said was, "Hey, I still think about you, hope you're doing well." Reading it instantly made my stomach churn. I want nothing from my past to potentially disrupt my engagement. I deleted the conversation with no response and continued to enjoy my night, not mentioning it to anyone. Thursday night, I remembered no dreams due to being rather inebriated, but since Friday night, I've begun to emotionally have conflicting dreams that involve my ex or elements from that period of my life. They've taken something of a toll on my mind, leaving me inattentive and exhausted from the moment I wake up onward. I know it's because of the sudden message, but I have no clue what to do to find the mental and emotional peace I had a week ago. Any and all advice is greatly appreciated. To those who have experienced something similar, I'd love to know how you found your inner peace and what it took to finally bury emotions of the past. Is it possible to get past this without having to talk to my ex and continuing on with my life? The first comment says, potentially disrupt my engagement. The old ex can only do that if you allow it. I think there's something to be said for letting the past stay in the past. Remember why this didn't work out before, and think about why your fiancée was special enough for you to want to spend the rest of your life with her. Also, think about what you missed from that period of your life besides your ex. If you put your head down for a few years to focus on professional development, sometimes it's easy to just lose having a life. This happened to me, and I thought about my ex from my more carefree times a lot. It's not that he was special, it's that I missed me from before all I thought about was adult things. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This one is titled, My GF, 23 female, has a different view on when one is too drunk than me, 26 male. Please like and subscribe and also hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Let's get right into it. I've previously had a lot of problems with alcohol, not in frequency, but binge drinking. It stems from an alcoholic father that pushed me to start drinking from an early age, around 15, where he would get me so drunk that I once puked and then pissed my pants when I slept. His advice after that night was that it wasn't the amount, it was the speed that I was drinking. As if a teenager should have to make that decision. From that point on, it was a mayhem. I went to the hospital 2 times before turning 18 and was raped by 2 older men when I was passed out at 19. I have disclosed all of this to my current girlfriend. We've been together for 10 months. And the reasons why I rarely drink, and when I do, it's only a few drinks or beers. I've only recently, during the past 2 years, reconciled with my past, but it still hurts when people in my family/significant other gets drunk to the point where they slur, have trouble walking, or pukes. When we started dating, I was upfront with her about me not wanting a party girl or someone that doesn't drink responsibly. She assured me that this wasn't the case. Recently, when we've gone to parties or when she's had a girls' night, she tends to drink heavily to the point where she always pukes, stumbles, or slurs. I get really anxious watching her that intoxicated, and especially when I don't drink on those occasions. She will sometimes meet up with her friends for a dinner and ends up coming home at 3 to 5 a.m. without texting me if she's even coming home or that they had plans to drink. I told her that if she wants to drink like that, then I don't want to be a part of her life because it hurts me so much. I really love her, but it pains me to have someone like that around me. A lot of the times she says she drinks because she's nervous and shy, but the alcohol makes her social, and sometimes during unfortunate events, she drinks too much. In my opinion, it's a conscious decision if you drink to the point that you should have to be responsible enough to be able to handle that. If you can't handle it, then you have underlying problems driving you to drink that much. I asked if she would do 30 days sober to get some perspective on her drinking. She agreed, and we're a few days from 30 days today. Everything started off great, but now towards the end, she's expressed that she feels like she's not socializing, become more introverted, and has a hard time enjoying being in social gatherings without drinking. She also feels like I'm putting pressure on her and she doesn't know what she's allowed to do. I've expressed that I don't want her to stop drinking, but just be responsible when she does. She is worried about hurting me, but she hasn't expressed that she might have a problem. The incidents have just been accidents, and it's not a pattern of her behavior. At the same time, I think she's worried because she's not confident in her ability to drink responsible. I wonder if things will ever change if she doesn't feel like she has a problem. I believe people will only change if they themselves accept that there is a problem. Am I being too hard on her and projecting my own problems on her behavior, or is it okay for me to ask for her to try to change? Should I be selfish and consider my own well-being and feelings above hers in this regard? And the first comment says, the both of you are living different lifestyles. It's true that alcohol makes you more extroverted, and as a result, you socialize more. However, you are both quite young still. It could be that she hasn't figured out what her limit is yet. When I go out, I substitute the next drink with a water or a soda or a mocktail. You're still being social, yet not over drinking. Perhaps you could suggest this method to her. I think you are projecting your trauma onto her, but it comes from a place of fear, where what happened to you could happen to her. It's from a well-meaning place. However, it is unreasonable to suggest she stop drinking altogether, or that she limit herself to what you find acceptable. At the end of the day, she is her own person and has to make decisions for herself. Otherwise, you become the person with all the power in the relationship, and that's unhealthy. Perhaps you could ask that when you go out together, that she limit herself, and when she's with her friends, that she texts you so you know she's okay. Hey everyone, I'm back today with another video, and this one is titled, My Female Friend Kissed the Girl I Was With at a Party. Please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Let's get right into it. Okay, so some context. I'm a guy, 20 years old if that matters. One of my best friends is a girl called Molly, not her real name. Molly and I tell each other everything and I trust her with my life. Molly is straight, but at parties, or anytime alcohol is involved, she is known to kiss the girls in our group. I get that girls can do this and it's nothing serious and it's just a bit of fun. No one in our friend group makes a big deal out of it. Okay, so recently, I've had my eye on this girl Amy, not her real name. I have never met Amy, but there was a party coming up and I knew we'd both be there. She and I have mutual friends and they had put in a good word for me. Fast forward to the party and Amy and I hit it off. We're talking, kissing, and all that good stuff. I leave Amy alone for a while to go and hang out with some friends I hadn't seen in a while. Later, I find Amy again and we get back to it. And I basically spent the whole night with her until the party ended and we both went our separate ways. But the other day, I found out that while I had left Amy alone, Molly and her had kissed. I'm kind of pissed off. I had told Molly and the rest of my friends that I liked Amy. Everyone knew. I think it's very weird and very disrespectful for Molly to kiss the girl I was with. Molly knew I had been getting with Amy, and I had no idea what she was thinking. I'm annoyed with both of them, although I haven't voiced my frustrations to anybody yet. I'm not happy that Amy did it, but in her defense, I only met her that night, and I can't control what she does. Molly, though, is another story. She's one of my best friends. I don't think she should be doing that. I'm not okay with it. She has already kissed another girl before moving on to Amy. This is where I need advice. It's Molly's birthday very soon and she's having a birthday party. I'll be going. I want to confront her about kissing Amy and give out to her and ask what the hell she was doing. I'm aware this will put a damper on the occasion, but I don't know when else I'll see her in person. We live quite far apart. Also, I'm planning on being friends with Molly. I still love the girl to death. I just have to make it clear I'm not okay with her behavior and I don't want to see it happen again. Is it wrong to make her feel bad on her birthday? Am I overreacting since it was probably only a bit of fun between the girls, even though I feel hurt? I know when two straight girls kiss, it's only a bit of fun, but I imagine that if Molly was getting with a guy and another girl in the friend group kissed him, there would be war. Just because I'm a dude doesn't negate the fact that she kind of betrayed me, right? And the first comment says, your friend isn't that straight, LMAO. Don't waste your time on the other girl either. She didn't care about kissing both of you. Who's to say she didn't kiss anyone else that night too? Hey everyone, I'm back today with another video, and this one is titled, I, 26 male, recently found out that my fiance, 28 female, has hid her massive debt from me for our entire relationship. I'm thinking of calling off everything and leaving, but everyone around me says I'm overreacting. Please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Let's get right into it. So over the last 48 hours, my life and relationship has basically gone off the deep end, and I need some advice. I've been with my fiance for a little over 3 years now. We met through friends and started dating soon after. I proposed at the beginning of the year and we were planning to try to get married this summer. Due to a certain worldwide event, we had to put that off though. Outside of the normal relationship trouble that most people have, our relationship has been great. I really felt like she was the one and I loved her, but it turns out she's been lying to me about her financial situation. My fiance has never been in a good situation financially. She never went to college and works as a server full time. This was never a problem for me. I went to trade school and make enough money to support both of us if needed. I have had to give her money before to help her when we were dating, and this never bothered me. We ended up moving in together specifically to help her out in this area. This was a never problem for me, and I don't really care about money. However, this week I found out that she has been lying to me about how bad her financial situation actually was. When we moved in together, my fiance claimed she only had about $6,000 worth of credit card debt. I gave her the money to pay that off when we moved in together so that it wouldn't be a problem in the future. Well, it turns out this was a lie. This week I found out that she has much more debt, over $110,000. She did not tell me this. I found out when a debt collector called me. It turns out when she moved in with me, she didn't inform any of her creditors that she moved. Even though I don't care about the money, this pissed me off to no end. I confronted her yesterday about this. She claims that she was so afraid she was going to lose me at the start of the relationship, she decided to just not tell me about her massive debt and was going to wait until after we were married. For 3 years, she just decided to lie to me. I called off the marriage then and there and packed a bag and left for my parents' house. She called me nearly 60 times since then and I've ignored every one. When I told my parents about this, they said I'm being immature and petty. According to them, this is not a big deal because everyone has debt nowadays. And if I love her, I need to understand how scared she was to tell me. I do love her, but she lied to me for 3 years about this. Along with this, the fact that she is so far in debt will become my problem if we married. Everyone I've talked to say I need to look past this and go back home. But I honestly am thinking of just calling her and telling her I'm done and we're over. I feel like I need some advice here. The first comment says, if she didn't go to college and doesn't own a property, how the hell does she amass $110,000 worth of debt? Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today's video is titled, Girlfriend of 2 years cheated with my neighbor and now lives there. Please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Let's get right into it. I broke up with my girlfriend of 2 years about a month ago. She started going back to school a few months ago and started carpooling with a guy in the neighborhood to school. The first time I meet him, he announces that he's an expert at manipulating people and situations. I didn't like him from the start and told my girlfriend that I thought he had bad intentions and that he had the hots for her. She says he's not her type and they are just friends. I decide to not be the controlling type and to just trust her. Fast forward to our anniversary and she calls out of work because her back was hurting but ends up doing a side job with the neighbor. She doesn't get home from her side job until almost midnight. She claimed her phone died, yet the person she was with had my number. He put me on Do Not Disturb. I confront her about cheating and she denies it. Slowly, she quits doing anything to help out our household and is constantly hanging out with her friends. A few days after our anniversary, it's Halloween, and she begs me to get pumpkins and wine, and we were going to carve pumpkins. She's wearing a questionable Halloween costume, and on our way home, she gets a text saying she's invited to dinner and that I'm not invited. So I give her the chance and she says she wants to be dropped off at the neighbor's. So I drop her off only to return because she's dressed in paper and it's raining. Plus I went to the grocery stores to find pumpkins. We go back to our house and argue. Next week she gets paid and I ask her to get dog food because I'm broke and couldn't get any. I found out that she spent all her money on her friends after a few days of lying about having money. When I discover she blew $300, I kicked her out. Now she's living 6 houses down. I have to drive past his house to leave my neighborhood. He lives with his parents, by the way. I've recently heard that he just wants to be friends. I've had only one phone conversation with her since we split up. She calls me to tell me someone grabbed her, at work. I told her that they probably figured it was okay since she was questionable morals. She blocked me. The first comment says, your girl went to a Halloween party without you, knowing the reason you weren't invited, at the neighbor's house wearing some skimpy paper costume. If it was me, her ass would have walked home. Sounds like to me he's been hitting that, but doesn't want her there at his place full time. That's why you're getting calls from him and her. They want their old situation back. Her at your house and him getting that whenever he wants. But the straw that broke the camel's back is the dog food thing, bruh. Not getting the dog food would have made me black out on her. And the second comment says, you've been lucky here, OP. I know that it probably doesn't seem like that now. Oh boy, lucky. Lucky, lucky. Apart from cheating on you, she's in the sharpest knife in the drawer. WTF. She was so brazen with it, and after 2 years together. One thing for sure. Her attractiveness to the AP will have gone down by 50% the minute she became totally available. As she's living so close, you can stand by for a grandstand view of her car crash new relationship. As they say, not your monkey, not your circus. Your most powerful weapon now is complete indifference. Even if you have to fake it, just totally ignore them. I'm guessing that she will come back around to you in the not too distant future. Don't entertain her, OP. She's definitely not worth it. She didn't want you on her team. She had her chance and she blew it. Good luck. Hey everyone, I'm back again with another video, and this one is titled, Our daughter is 2 months old and our wedding was in 3 months. We broke up yesterday. Please like and subscribe and also hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Let's get right into it. I found out last week my partner cheated on me for 4 months in the beginning of our relationship. He was constantly cheating with 3 girls and casually flirting with more. I forgave him because we have a newborn and I wanted us to stay together for her sake. We spent the past week trying to work things out and we were getting better. He mentioned seeking therapy. Every now and then I would get cold because I'd be getting flashbacks, but we were okay. But we weren't. I discovered on Wednesday night he had been on Tinder for the past week messaging girls and giving them his phone number while I stayed home, sobbing and sleep deprived over our newborn daughter. He even used one of the lines he used on me in the messages. I'm heartbroken. I've slept for maybe 3 hours in the past day because I can't stop crying and I can't get over it. We have no choice but to stay in the same residence because we can't afford to rent separate places. I just can't believe he did that to me or to our daughter. I keep cycling through hating him, blaming myself, and just wishing I could have been different. Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today's video is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my daughter the truth about my relationship with her late mother? She cheated multiple times. After my daughter said she wants a relationship with her future spouse like we had. Please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Let's get right into it. This is the first time I have ever told any of my 3 kids that their mother was unfaithful, and it was not something I ever intended to share with them, especially now that their mother has passed. But in that moment, it seemed like it needed to be said. Partly, I felt this way because my therapist and I have been talking a lot lately about truth and the dangers of holding my truth inside. She didn't tell me I had to tell my kids, but she did say I would probably struggle to move on and gain closure as long as I had to keep pretending like my marriage was a happy one. It would be years of having to keep up the facade, which would only keep that wound raw. She was right about it. Even though my daughter is upset, I do feel better now that I can finally stop pretending like my marriage was anything more than a sham and loveless for the most part. The other factor which led me to tell my daughter was some of her comments about my marriage, but more so one comment she made about our parenting. She didn't say she loved her mother more than me or that I was a bad father to her, but she said in her own way that she thinks her mom made more sacrifices for my family and the kids than I did, which is why she admires her so much. It's the first time she has ever said anything like this to me, and I would be lying if I said I wasn't devastating to hear that. It's true that I was not able to be as present as my wife at all times, since for parts of my marriage I was the sole provider and had to work late, but I attended nearly every event, game, recital, and special event my kids had. It was even more hurtful because at one point our wife was planning to leave me and our kids to start a new life with her affair partner, while I would have never even given a thought to doing something like that. It wasn't even a brief thought of hers. She had already made plans to do so, but changed her mind at the last minute. When I told my version of events to my daughter, she became very angry, which I understand. She told me I should never have told her this and I was selfish for not keeping this to myself. She hates me for ruining the image she has of her mother and her memories of her, and she told me to not even think of telling her siblings. If I do, she says she is done with me. It is hard for me to not be frustrated with my daughter because her immediate response was to defend my mother and blame me for not going to my grave with this secret, even if it meant many more years of pain. I am not sure if I will tell my other kids or not. Am I the a-hole like my daughter says? Would I be an a-hole if I told my other kids the same thing I told my daughter? Hey everyone, I'm back again with another video, and this one is titled, My Wife Got Up and Spoke in Church. Please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss a video. Let's get right into it. We've been part of church families our whole lives but never attended regularly. After her midlife crisis and affair, going back to church became more of a regular thing. My wife would never speak publicly and especially not in church. She's a private person and doesn't want public attention ever. One of the topics of the sermon was infidelity in the modern world. Talk about instant tension in our pew. I felt the wind suck right out of my lungs when the pastor started talking about it. He didn't know our story. Nobody there did. We purposely picked a church where we didn't know anyone because we wanted a fresh start without judgment from some of the holier-than-thou members. You know the type. My wife is well respected at church. She participates in a lot of church activities, gives advice, has taught Sunday school on a moment's notice. She really has tried to become the person she wants to be, but in the past failed to be. Personally, church wasn't really my thing, but at the point where we were, I figured, what the hell? If anything can help, I'll give it a try. The pastor talked about how sin and infidelity can find their way into anyone's lives. He then talked about his own infidelity when he was a younger man. He cried at how he failed his wife. She wasn't there, still married to him, and cried also. Half the church was crying. He said it was the worst thing he had ever done in his life, and the burden of the pain he caused his wife that he'll carry the rest of his life is a small price to pay for her grace and forgiveness. What I liked is that he didn't use the tired line about God forgiving him, so all is well, like the former mayor of Nashville recently did. He didn't even mention God's forgiveness at first, only his wife's forgiveness. That is what mattered to him most. He eventually praised God for giving him the strength to be a better man and all that jazz. Anyway, he asked if anyone wanted to add anything to the conversation, and I about to have a heart attack because there goes my wife standing up. My wife? You've got to be kidding. She would never talk publicly in a situation like this. I'm sitting there literally in shock. I look around and every eye is on her. Some are on me because I think they assumed I must have cheated on her. She starts talking, introducing herself and our family to those that might not know us. Our kids are sitting there right next to me. She then unloads everything. I mean everything. How she wasn't happy with herself but mistakenly blamed external parts of her life for this sadness, her job, her marriage, etc. She blamed everything but herself. She talked about how she always hated cheaters and couldn't believe anyone would do something like that. I'm sitting there still in shock, like I'm not really there and instead watching this all on a movie screen. I don't know if I even breathed the whole time she was talking. I was blown away. She told how she got where she did. The self-doubt, the anger, and resentment over not following some of her dreams from when she was young, and instead getting married, having kids, and settling down. She unloaded it all. She pointed at me and said, "This is my husband. Some of you already know him. All he ever did was love me and support me, and I betrayed him in the worst way imaginable. I caused him more pain and suffering than I'll ever know. I don't deserve his grace or forgiveness, and yet here he sits by my side, holding my hand, still being my husband." She went on to say that she knows the pastor's burden, and that she accepts as part of her own penance, carrying a burden of knowing how badly she hurt me and her family, but is also glad that it's there to remind her of how badly she screwed up. By the time she was done talking, she was crying. I was crying. Half the church was crying. It was really something. That's all I can think to say about it. I can't believe she got up in front of hundreds of people and confessed that sin and told them all she did. She had made it there. Nobody knew. She didn't have to do that. That was a sacrifice on her part for us. That has really shaken me to the core. We hugged when she sat back down, and I think it was the first real hug where I felt something for her in over 2 years. It melted that iron shield I put around my heart after D-Day. I couldn't let anyone hurt me like that again, so I froze my heart out to anyone/everyone except my kids. Her getting up and telling that story in front of everyone is a game changer. It affected me more than anything else we've done in the last 2+ years. The one act has made more progress for us than the 100+ marriage counseling sessions. We've talked so much since Sunday. She said that the pastor inspired her and she knew she needed to do at least one brave thing in her life. As I would expect, she had already gotten the cold shoulder from some friends from the church. Others, however, some people we didn't even know, have approached us, called us, emailed us, etc., to wish us well and say how inspiring my wife's message was. We're not really devout people, and this whole thing didn't really feel like our religion was the big part of it. Like the pastor's wife, I saw that my forgiveness was more important to my wife than even God's. I know now, for the first time since it happened, that we're going to make it. I still can't believe she did that. Hey everyone, I'm back again with another video, and this one is titled, Her AP May Have Saved My Future. Please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Let's get right into it. I found out my 23 male, fiance 21 female, had an EA/PA with another dude via her phone messages. She had S with him once, and I caught her shortly after, so they stopped. We separated. I kicked her out. A month or so later, I decided I can forgive a one-time mess-up, and we were reconciling. Things were actually going pretty well. We had been reconciling for about 4 months. Yesterday, I decided to reach out to her AP on Facebook just to get some closure. They didn't have S ever since her and I started reconciling 4 months ago, but he unloaded so much more information. They didn't just have S once, like I thought this entire time. It was multiple times, probably around 5 times total. Said it would have never stopped if I didn't find out. They had S once or twice after I found out. We were separated. She was crying, begging for me back, saying she'd never do it again, saying how much she regretted it, all while still having S with him. She had S with one other guy before him, maybe 2. She had plans with another guy in California, who she was going to see with bad intentions, and will use this other potential affair partner to make her current affair partner feel jealous. They also never wore condoms, which was another lie. So that was my day yesterday. Very happy I talked with this guy. He saved me from a divorce down the line. He said he felt terrible about it, had never done something like this before, but the way she casually brought up cheating on me in the past and how she didn't actually want to get married made him feel like he wasn't ruining anything. After I told her about my great conversation with him, she called him extremely pissed off. Him and I were kind of laughing about it. I told him she's all his if she still wants it. Now she's begging to get back together again, just like before, saying all the right things. Not caring has never been easier. I'm selling the engagement ring today. Anyway, very happy I reached out to her affair partner. We may go get drinks sometimes.